I keep being told that the impending autonomous truck revolution is just around the corner. But as it turns out, it depends on who you ask. For many autonomous trucking startups, they want you to think that sooner rather than later. Is this a myth or just good business to raise more funding? And if not, what would an actual future with autonomous trucks look like? This and more on this episode of Loaded and Rolling. Welcome to Loaded and Rolling. I'm your host, Thomas Wasson, enterprise trucking carrier expert here at FreightWaves, and we are coming to you from our studios in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Almost every day you hear an industry observer note that autonomous trucks are just around the corner, and also that the truck can finally determine what a corner is or isn't. But the challenge for many people is determining and finding out what is real and what is hype. Even recently, last December, TuSimple noted a successful 80-mile driverless run across Interstate 10 in Arizona. Other companies such as Embark Locomotion, Loadsmith, Waymo, Plus, and Gatik, as a mouthful, are all in various stages of attempting to develop and deploy this technology. And it gets complicated, as some of these companies provide the software, some only the hardware, and some a little bit of everything. And so for many of these companies, they are startups which need to carefully manage investor expectations in addition to building hype for more funding. This can make things difficult for both drivers and trucking companies who are being told that autonomous vehicles are coming in the next year and that they should be prepared for a driverless future. Joining me to help cut through some of this confusion and separate the hype from truth is Torc Robotics Senior Analyst of Corporate Strategy, Frank Mabry. Frank has over 20 years of experience in both software development and supply chain strategies. Additionally, he's worked with some of the leading transportation data systems providers and some trucking and logistics roles. Frank, welcome to the show, sir.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. We're trying to beat the heat over here in Chattanooga, but unfortunately that humidity just sneaking up on us.
I hear you. It's same in Dallas. We're having record heats, especially for May and June.
You know, it was one of those funny things that, like, especially there's a upcoming thing called Bonnaroo, and everybody was so excited because last year a hurricane came through around this time. So now instead of a hurricane, we're getting a cataclysmic heat wave. So you just can't win, I guess. But digging into and diving right in, looking at autonomous trucks and the rollout, it does feel like, at least in my experience, there's a lot of between fact and fiction and a lot of myth making for some of these companies. I'm hearing that some companies can literally deploy fully autonomous trucks within a year. And I know they're not Elon Musk with his Tesla, but other people. And your experience, especially being at Torc Robotics, is that something that's even remotely feasible, or are we just beating the drums to pour more money in the investor pool?
You know, I can't speak for our competitors. I know what we're doing here at Torc Robotics, and I know they're facing the same obstacles that we're facing, government regulation. I mean, the technology has came a long ways, and I have been in the trucks myself, so it's truly amazing what they can do. I can tell you from our perspective, we have not set a timeline yet. We are going to commercialize autonomous trucking when it's safe for the public, when everything has been 100% tested. And we know that we can put our families beside the trucks on the highways, itself.
I think safety first. You got 80,000 pounds fully laden, and you want to make sure that there's no funny business. You mentioned earlier also about, looking at predictions. And so I've also heard that, it gets really difficult to predict just how much this is going to disrupt. Coming from Torc and your experience, is there anything that we can kind of look at to realistically figure out, when do you think you'll see a few of these on the road? Is it like government regulations holding it back, or is the technology or weather conditions? Are there any challenges that we need to be aware of?
It's all of the above, actually. It's the technology is, like I said, absolutely amazing. It has come a long ways. It's got a ways to go yet. The trucks can do some absolutely amazing things. We choose not to operate on surface roads, but that is just our choosing. That's our rules. The capabilities are there. We operate on interstates. We test almost daily, or I should say, not almost, but we test daily on public roads. So the technology is absolutely there. It does have a little ways to go to be truly 100% tested. I think one of the things that sets us apart is, we're an independent subsidiary of Daimler, DTNA trucks. So we have integrated, and we're one of the only ones that have integrated this far, that the actual technology in collaboration with Freightliner and Daimler trucks is going to be designed from the ground up in the chassis of the vehicle. So the redundancies, everything is going to be there. When the difference in us and a competitor is when you order a Torc Robotics powered Freightliner Cascadia, when it comes off the line, all you'll need is a load of freight to hook to it, and the training, the know-how to know how to operate the technology. For other competitors, they'll pull it off the line, they'll drive it down the road to their facility, they'll pull it, they'll tow it, they'll push it, however, and then they'll start bolting on all of their, their sensors, their technology stack, everything, and they'll retrofit it. Where ours is going to be designed for L level 4 autonomous operations.
I think that's a great advantage, because not only Daimler, but Freightliner and the dealerships, having that integration with an OEM allows you to say, if something breaks, I can just go straight into my regular. I'm not interrupted, instead of having the person who put the other stuff on top of it and now deal with two different groups. I can actually just deal straight with the OEM in that integration, right?
It'll also allow us, with their maintenance and service capabilities, it'll allow us to scale a whole lot faster. So again, when it comes off the line, they'll already have the expertise because they built the chassis and the truck from the ground up. That, yes, you're absolutely right. You have a problem, one call, one serve. Let's get her fixed. Let's get it back on the road.
From my experience, I think a lot of people don't understand how important that can be. Sometimes if you deal with multiple vendors, it can get like a huge pain in the neck, even from something like mirrors or components on the side or filters. And so, being able to be at the forefront with Daimler and having that backing, do you think that's also, especially given the economy right now, we hear a lot of startups having some trouble now with raises and funds. Do you think that's a hidden advantage, having that long-term investment with Daimler saying, hey, we're going to take this and we're just going to go and give you all the support, versus that pressure you feel where you have to say, it's coming soon, Well,
absolutely. And, that's one of the things that I really admire and respect about our founders and our current executives. Back in 2019, they saw the need to have the collaboration, directly with the OEM. So not only did we go out to DTNA or Daimler Trucks and say, hey, we want you to invest in us, but we insisted on them being 51% owner. So they have the backing for Torc Robotics, as well as it's in their best interest to make us successful, and they are wholly invested in this level of autonomous vehicles. So yes, it has extreme advantages.
And switching gears a little bit, talking about narratives, because we hear a lot of narratives. FreightWaves has been one of them we've picked up on. We report on autonomous breakthroughs. But, the biggest thing we hear about is, for a lot of people, the narrative's been that we're going to replace all these drivers. And I don't think, in your experience and how you all are developing this autonomous capability, is this something where drivers are getting replaced, or how do you envision this autonomous future and the driver?
So, one thing, first off, one of DTNA's main mantras is they don't compete with their customers. So you don't see Freightliner or Daimler Trucks starting a trucking company to compete with anybody that they sell their trucks to. We have the same mantra where we want to sell trucks. We want to assist in companies buying and utilizing our technology. And that said, we are focusing on the hub-to-hub business model first off. I think that will expand over the years. But if there's a driver, if there's a person coming out of, high school, college, wherever, and they want a full career as a truck driver, man, go for it. There's always going to be truck drivers out there. We're not here to replace them. We're here to enhance the industry, add more, levels of modes of transportation, and help the trucking industry. There's always going to be need for truck drivers. I don't care what happens, what technology comes into this field. There's always going to be a need.
That's what I was curious about. Thinking of the hub-to-hub model. I remember when I looked at a hub and spoke for LTL. And for people who aren't as familiar, could you describe a little bit about how autonomous trucks fit in this model? And like, what does it mean when we go from hub to hub for folks that may not know, some of the ways you can haul?
So basically, with a hub-to-hub model, you'll have it's kind of like an airport model. You have, airport to airport. You bring your freight to a specific hub, whether it's generally owned by a consortium or one company owns it or whomever. You contracted, you bring your freight into that hub. It's transferred over to an autonomous vehicle, and just say it's from. We'll just pick two cities, say L.A. to Atlanta. Instead of you having to wait, 3 or 4 days for that to get there, and the driver taking, overnight breaks, and you put yours on it, your freight on an autonomous vehicle. It doesn't have those logging restrictions, so you wake up the next day or the day after, and it's there. So that's how we foresee it. That's going to be, I think, the easiest integration into mainstream trucking right off the bat. You'll see that escalate over time as far as being able to go from surface roads, shipping facility to shipping, pick up to receiver, first and final mile, those types of things. But the easiest way to get into the industry right now is going to be hub to hub, traveling mainstream interstates, approved highways.
And thinking about what that kind of means, having autonomous vehicles and not having to worry about things like hours of service, what does it look like whenever we start implementing these models, we start deploying these trucks? How does that look like for asset utilization in hours? Does that mean that we can theoretically run nonstop with some of these vehicles?
Absolutely. The only thing that'll stop them, they don't have to stop for restroom breaks or dinner breaks or anything like that. Fuel them at the origin. Have specific hubs set up throughout according to how long that the route's going to be, and in the morning it's there. That's basically the only limitation is fuel. It'll be able to navigate traffic, road construction, all those type things. So the beauty about it is the trucks know where they're going, what they're doing, so they don't have to jockey for getting off an exit. They know what lane they need to be in. They know, what they're doing, way in advance, so they can make better decisions. It'll be I hesitate. I want to say it in a different way, but the truck will run regular, miles per hour. It won't be up and down and all around. It'll be a lot smoother. So the savings of the maintenance and the operations of the truck will, I think, over time, be very good for trucking companies.
And looking into that, especially with having those hub-to-hub moves that are autonomous, does that still leave opportunity for drivers coming out of the hub and then going to the delivery? So, would that be a situation where, the current strategy on developing is we'd have the autonomy and then you're going to deliver it somewhere? Would that still have a driver in the near term?
Absolutely. Near term, long term, a lot of companies, or a lot of very large companies, years ago decided that that was the most profitable way to do it based on, using intermodal modes of moving freight. So there's right now, first and final mile is going to be very huge. It's going to help trucking companies expand their freight networks because there's customers out there that right now they won't service because it's out of their network. They're trying. A lot of companies, or most companies, went to hub and spoke freight network so that they can, number one, driver retention. Their drivers go out and back. They're at home every night. They get to have some family time. Now with this, their drivers still, for the first mile, they pick the loads up, take them over to the autonomous hub, and drop it off. Hopefully pick up a load from there to take it back and deliver. Gets them at home at night. The autonomous vehicle overnight or over afternoon or over a day takes it the rest of the way, say from Memphis to Phoenix. Next morning, that customer has a driver that picks it up, does the final mile, delivers it, probably has dropped off another load for the autonomous vehicle to take back the other direction. So it really strengthens their network, enables them to help customers with freight that currently they may not be helping them with.
That's what I'm thinking, because in my experience, long haul trucking over the road is like 95% turnover. And so is there that potential where you get more savings passed on to, now that we've localized drivers at these hubs, coming in and outbound of the hubs, then that allows companies to kind of change it and also make driving more favorable? Like, you think more people may get into trucking just because now you can finally be home instead of every 3 to 4 weeks?
Oh, absolutely. Lots of different ways they can design it, where the driver's home every night, he's home every other night, but he gets a lot more home time with his family, and it's not just all that windshield time where he's gone for weeks and weeks and weeks at a time. A lot of the problems with driver turnover now is they get treated badly at the pickup and the delivery, and then they get in the truck and they have all this windshield time to think about, how they've been treated badly. So this alleviates a lot of that. They can get in front of, trucking companies can get in front of their drivers a lot more often, and with training and safety and just being in front of their drivers.
And coming from like a fleet standpoint, let's say, because I'm hearing about truck as a service, driver as a service, Uberization of things, there's a lot of buzzwords going out, but for carriers who want to, when you start purchasing your truck, you normally you're buying it new or used. Is it going towards, have you all noticed in your experience, is there the potential that it goes towards a subscription base with autonomous vehicles, or do you still just go to the dealership and just buy one and then drive it off the lot?
It's really too early to tell about that right now. I mean, our model is you go to the Freightliner dealership, you order a Torc Robotics powered Freightliner Cascadia, and you operate that vehicle yourself. That way, you have full control of that vehicle, the freight that it's hauling, everything. So you can design your freight network to be more profitable for you. Maybe down the road, there's some software as a service or truck as a service that opens up different challenges. But I mean, there's all types of different models out there.
And that kind of goes into where you said earlier, talking about, how competition, you want to be able to just provide the trucks, and a lot of these other companies are trying to gain some competitive advantage. Is that part of the philosophy where if we're going to provide you the truck, you're going to be able to purchase it, and then you do as you please, we're not trying to root anybody out? Is that a particular maybe advantage instead of trying to get caught in between all the competition like some of these smaller startups are having to do, buying up market share, partnerships? And
well, yourself, you've been in the trucking industry too. It's a tough industry. You make pennies on the dollar if you operate extremely efficient. So it's a tough trucking company to get tough industry to get into. You really got to know your stuff to make money at transportation. So I think it really is a better model for a trucking company to do what they do best, and we do what we do best. I mean, that's one of the reasons right now you don't see the headlines of we've hauled freight, we're delivering freight for customers. Sure, we get requests from our partners right now, but we have our heads down and we're focused on providing the technology and perfecting the technology. And I think that's a good business model to have.
were there any, speaking of providing and perfecting technology, were there any surprises or challenges along the way that y'all came across as you were working on, getting this thing to where you could test it on the road?
You know, I can't answer that as specific to Torc. I can tell you this: I've been in trucking a long time, and probably 5 or 6 years ago, when actually one of my ex customers, had contacted me and told me about Torc, uh, I would have basically said, "Oh yeah, I don't see this ever happening. There's too many obstacles." But having been in the trucks, it's some amazing technology. Uh, the obstacles and the thresholds they've already overcome is just absolutely amazing what it can and can't do.
And looking at like it's almost like seeing is believing. Is there anything you can talk about in terms of like how you can, how as it's driving it manages to not, run over anything or avoid it? I saw there was a demo earlier when you all came to the Freight Waves conference, and so it looked really, really cool just to see the little promo you all had on how the technology looks and thinks.
Oh, absolutely. And we utilize several different uh, instruments. Long range radar, long range lidar, short range cameras, to actually create a 3D model around the truck. We use the GPS location of where the truck's at, as well as very, very high detail mapping that is included in the software. So it already knows where it's going, what it's going to do, where it's going to make the next turn, what lane it needs to be in. It doesn't have to, when you're going some of these complicated expressways and interchanges, it already knows exactly where it needs to be. So it's not jockeying in and out and get to the last minute and go, oh no, I need to be in that lane, and causing traffic backups and pileups and whatever. It's slow, it's easy. It can tell, when a car going down the road, and I've never understood this, but they'll swerve right over in front of an 80,000-pound vehicle going 65 miles an hour, and the truck just seamlessly starts slowing down and creating that gap between the car and the truck so that it's safe to keep operating.
I
So
think a lot
it's
of
absolutely amazing.
That's what I was amazed about with the safety gap. Thinking you talked about earlier, keeping families safe on the roadway, and that's why there's no timelines there, there's no time frame because safety comes first. And I think for a lot of people, they don't understand how important it is having something that can automatically detect this incoming and automatically keep that gap up. Do you think that, especially in terms of safety, are there any other cool safety features and stuff that you may be able to talk about that's integrated with the product?
Well, absolutely. One of the main or major things that being in direct collaboration and ownership with Daimler Trucks is the chassis and everything is built specifically for L4 level autonomous operations, and that includes redundancy. So, if the steering fails, there's another steering mechanism that takes over. Um, if for braking, for instance, right now it's everything is it's air, but it's mechanical. So it'll be shifting over towards the European style of electronic braking. Still use air, but it's all electronically controlled. When you're going up an incline, a mountain or a hill or a decline, as far as engaging, say the jake brake, it already knows here's the grade that I'll be experiencing. So before it even gets to it, it's in the correct gear. It engages the jake brake in the correct level that it needs, and it's just smooth sailing. You won't see the truck getting in the middle of a downgrade and being in the wrong gear. And when you've got 80,000 pounds behind you, you can't just change gears on the fly or engage jake brake on the fly. You need to be where you need to be at that time to be safe.
Well, that reminds me of that's one of the advantages of having the OEM partnership is Freightliner Cascadias have the automated manual transmission as well as all the refinements that I've went over it. So that's coming straight out of the factory floor with the sensors and everything. You can trust it to do a good job versus maybe if someone else has to put a rig or put something over the top of it, you have to communicate, and that opens a whole new can of worms.
Yeah, so our software stack integrates directly into those systems. So it's not we're putting another box on the outside of it to say, oh, hey, do this or do that. It's directly integrated to say, here's what I want to do. Let's do it now. And it's designed to do that.
That's super exciting. Frank, if they want to check out Torc, is there any best way to reach out, website, LinkedIn, for folks who wish to learn more?
They can reach out on our main website, torc.ai or torc.com. We're more than happy at any time to answer questions, and you can find out a lot more about us that way. We're also on LinkedIn, so we're welcome. If you want to know more about autonomous trucking, then please dial into us.
I'm excited. I really appreciate you coming on the show, Frank. And, we'll definitely have to have you all over on again to talk about some recent developments coming into the pipeline.
Absolutely. And we're looking forward to, having you out and letting you see the technology in person as well.
I'm excited. Seeing is believing. Thank you so much, Frank.
Hey, thank you. Take care.
That's a wrap for today. You can check it out, freightwaves.com or tv.freightwaves.com, loaded and rolling. I also have a newsletter. It's every Wednesday and Saturday if you need some weekend reading. And that is it for today. But join us next week. I have a lot more fun content. I'm Thomas Wasson. It's been a blast.